So we are going to talk about what do you mean by in-memory and why in-memory, and what is HANA, what are the different key capabilities of HANA when it comes to the technically what we can do with HANA, and finally we'll see what are the different options we have for customers, the customers who are using ERP systems or even warehouse systems. So that's the basic expectations for the session. Now, as on date, nowadays we are getting different business demands and different requirements from the customer, where some customer says, as if you are referring to any data warehouse, always there will be a data latency or data delay of 1 day, because today whatever the data you have in your OLTP system, the online transaction processing system, that data will be available only tomorrow. After the business hours, you need to pull all the data, and that data will be available for analysis. So there is a 1 day delay when you want to do some kind of analysis. Now some customer says, I don't want to wait. What are the data I'm looking in my OLTP systems? I want to see the same data for my analytics. And some other customer says, what are the reports I'm looking in my desktop or laptop? I want to see the same in my mobile. So that's what we call mobility. And some customer says, as I have some huge amount of data, my data volume is too huge, so I need to have some in-memory database. I don't want to use the traditional database. So like this, we are getting different business demands and different voices from the customers nowadays. To address all these kind of business demands, as on date, we don't have much tool. There is only one tool from SAP perspective. That's what we call, and the basic prescription is SAP HANA. Now before that, we need to understand, before coming to the HANA, we need to understand why particularly we are talking about in-memory. If you see 2012, it was a huge hype for in-memory. We used to say in-memory, big data. These two words are pretty hype words in 2012. But when it comes, it was 2011. But 2012 is the ideal year where it's reality. All vendors, they come up with their own solutions and their own products. For example, when you talk about SAP, they launched SAP HANA, which is an in-memory solution. Same when it comes to the Oracle, you got Exadata, Exalyx, and from EMC Square, you got Greenplum. Like this, different vendors, they come up with their own products. So that's the reason when we said 2012 is ideally, it's a reality. Now 2013 is a new year which we are going to expect a lot of new projects in this in-memory space. So as there is one consulting firm which where they used to do some research in IT, so that Gartner Group. So as they forecasted, there will be a demand of HANA consultant across the globe by the year of ending 2014. A minimum, we need 30K HANA consultants across the globe. So that's the forecasted version what Gartner is saying. Now coming back to our business, so let's talk about why in-memory processing. On the left hand side, there is one table which talks about the price, how gradually it has decreased when you say RAM or hard disk or flash drives. If you want to purchase 1 MB RAM in the midst of 90s, it was around $30. But now if you want to purchase 1 MB RAM, it's negligible. So eventually if you see, the hardware cost has been slashed down and reduced like anything. This is the graph. And the second reason, if you see for each component, we have some speed here. For example, we have CPU. In the year 1990, it was 0.05 MIPS, but now it's 7.15, which is almost 143x faster. Same applies for main memory, which is 250x. Addressable memory, 2 power 48x. Network speed, 100x. Disk transfer, 25x faster. Which means, to summarize, disk speed is growing slower than all other hardware components, while the need for speed is increasing. The another motivated factor why particularly we are talking about in-memory nowadays. Now whatever the data you have in your system, when you're trying to execute any report, what it does is it will go back to your server. In there, from hard disk, you are going to pull all the data. Assume a scenario where you have some huge amount of data, 1 billion records. I need to see my data when I say 1 billion records. Just imagine from going back to your hard disk, when it is going to pull from the hard disk, obviously it will be a huge bottlenecks in the past. When you're talking about a 1 billion, 10 billion records, 50 billion records, so obviously it will take a lot of time. So for that reason, now what we are using is the new paradigm. We call it as a in-memory. So the main memory is nothing but your RAM. So whatever the data you need for your business analysis or business transactions, for your operational needs, you are going to dump everything into your main memory, which is nothing but RAM. And with a special software and with a special hardware, we are going to manage this in-memory solution. And whenever if you are trying to execute any report, rather it is going back to your hard disk. Instead of that, it is going to pull from your RAM. So that's what we call in-memory. Now, what do you mean by in-memory? Excuse me. An in-memory database is the database management system that primarily relies on main memory for computing data storage. So which you are going to keep all your data into RAM as opposite to querying data which is stored in your physical hard disk. So all business intelligence reporting tools or any applications can do the reporting and pull all the data from the RAM so that it is going to get huge performance. So in addition to providing incredibly the fast query response times, in-memory analytics can reduce or eliminate the need for data indexing and storing pre-aggregated data. So typically when you're talking about traditional databases and data warehouses where we used to store all our data, while storing that you will be having the indices and even pre-aggregated. So that kind of all things we are not able to do right now when we are talking about with the advantages of in-memory. Now, if you are going just instead of dumping all your data, hard disk, if you are going to keep in RAM, are you going to get performance? No. By taking all the advantages of in-memory applications, what we are going to do is, whatever the application, when you say the basic calculations or computations, you refer any SAP systems or any system, you will be having 3 layers, starting with your database, application, and presentation. In the past, we used to place all our calculations, manipulations in the application layer. Now, what we are trying to do is, it was a huge burden in the past. Now, with the taking all advantages of in-memory, we are completely pushing down from application layer down to database. Do whatever the calculations, manipulations in your database and simply transfer your results to your application layer. So this way we are going to get a huge performance. Now let's try to understand what you mean by HANA. HANA is a pre-packed and pre-configured appliance that is ready to run the in-memory database on a multi-core processor hardware with a terabytes of a memory. So why it's HANA, not something else? Because the person who owned and who provided this solution is known as Hasso-Plattner. So initially they want to name this new tool as a Hasso New Architecture, which is a very lengthy. To make it short, they have taken HA from Hasso, N from New, A from Architecture. Altogether it's HANA. It's basically, moreover, when you say HANA, it's an analytical appliance where you got in-memory SAP software and a special SAP hardware. Moreover, when you say HANA, it's a in-memory database technology which typically supports your SQL, MDX, and there is a new interface which supports only for Business Intelligence 4. That's what we call Business Intelligence Consumer Services. So pretty simple. When you want to understand what you mean by HANA in a one statement, HANA is an in-memory database as well an analytical appliance. Simple. The other reason why we call it as a HANA, it's high performance analytics appliance. It's a technology which allows the processing of massive quantities of real-time data in the main memory of the server to provide immediate results from analysis and transactions. So at a high level, if you want to understand, this is your HANA appliance. And on top, in source, you can see there is some source systems. We call it as a business suite. When you say SAP business suite, that may be your typical all business OLTP systems, what we call SAP ECC system, or CRM, or SCM, that is supply chain management, suppliers relationship management. So any system, any typical OLTP system, or any data warehouse, or any third-party system apart from SAP. So you are going to get all the data from different sources and pump into HANA. For reporting on top, you will do with the use of business objects. HANA supports only BO4. The latest version is BO4. Or any third-party tools, you can use that. So here you are pulling all the data, pumping into HANA, do the data processing here, manipulate, do whatever the things you want, and generate all the reports in business objects or any third party. Now, the technology what we are going to use is, when you say hardware technology, we have a huge innovations. We are going to use a technology called multi-core architecture. For example, when we say one server, in server you'll be having one CPU. For each CPU, you'll be having a blade. In each blade, you can accommodate 8 processors. If I'm using 5 CPUs multiplied by 8, which will be 40 processors you are going to use. Like that, you can scale out. There is no such limitation or something. So right now, HANA supports 100 terabytes of a memory. Based on the configuration you need, according to your requirements, you can buy your appliance. For buying appliance, always you need to buy this HANA appliance from the certified hardware partners who are known as Intel, HP, IBM, Cisco, Fujitsu, Dell. So these are the hardware partners for SAP. You need to buy appliance before deploying any HANA projects, HANA systems. You need to purchase from these guys. And coming to the software side, we got a huge innovations. That's what we call a row and columnar store. As you know, traditionally, when we say table, you are going to keep all your data in the row fashion. So that's the reason why we call it as a column tables. But by default, you are going to use tables as columnar stores, which we are going to store all the data in the column fashion. So which is saving a lot of time and a lot of memory also for the faster access of the query. With that, whatever the compression, whatever the partitioning you do, it's 100%. And no aggregated tables, which means whatever the data you have in your source systems, without any further modifications, you are going to get the same dump and pump into HANA. Because when you say data warehouse environment, where you used to move your data accordingly based on your business logics, you need to transform your data level to level. That's the technology. Now let's talk about the proof point or test case. So before introducing HANA, SAP has tested by taking a huge amount of data on a customer called Unilever, Hindustan Unilever Limited, what we call earlier. So now it's what we call Hindustan Unilever Limited, HLL. Earlier it was a HLL, right now we call it as HUL. So majority of the consumer products, if you take in India, the Ren, Colgate, all this are nothing but Colgate, HUL products. It's basically consumer products. See the amount of data what we are referring. It's a 460 billion records and 50 terabytes of a data. To process earlier without HANA, it was taking around 77 minutes. The same with HANA, it has taken only 13 seconds, and query is returns back in 0.04 seconds. See the amount of data what we are referring. It's a 70 retailers and with a 460 billion records and 50 terabytes of a data. When you do query on that, where query is responding back in 0.04 second. So that's the reason why we call HANA as a super duper fast. And you are going to get all your results in a real time. Now how you are going to get your data from different sources into HANA? You name it your SAP or non-SAP, any system. we are going to use three methods to pull data from different sources to HANA. That's one what we call trigger-based replication. In your source system, you are going to do some configuration. Once it is made, after that, what are the data you are going to pull? It's real-time data. So that is trigger-based replication. The other method, with the use of an ETL tool called Business Objects Data Services, you are going to pull from SAP or non-SAP, but that is not a real-time replication. The type is what we call ETL-based replication, and you are going to use your BODS as an ETL tool, and you are going to pull all the data from source to HANA. And remember, these two we are pulling from application layer. The third mechanism we have, log-based replication. It's directly you are pulling from the database with the use of log files. So again, this is a real time. This is not a real time replication. When you say replication, how you are going to get your data from source to HANA. And once you got all the data pumped into HANA, on top of that data, virtually, you are going to create some views. The way how you are going to represent your master data is nothing but what we call attribute view. This one. And the way how you are going to represent your master and transaction data, that's nothing but analytical view. Typically in any data warehouse, we call it as a cubes, info cubes. And whenever if you have some complex requirements where you need to customize, you need to write down some piece of code to get that requirement, then we'll go with calculation view. So to provide some security for these views, we'll use privileges, and for the reusable purpose, we'll use procedures, and with these procedures only you are going to push down the burden what you have in application layer down to database. So these are the essential modeling and provisioning, or the provisioning, other word what we call is extraction. Things what we can do with HANA. And when it comes to the reporting, either you need to use business objects or any third-party tool. So what are the data you have in your HANA? On top of that, you have created your views here, and the same views we are going to consume in the reporting layer. So when you say reporting business objects, we got a different reporting tools based on your requirement, your customer requirement. Some customer says, I want to see some ad hoc reporting. Then simply use your website. Some customer says, I want to see some dashboards. So then dashboard, using dashboard designer, you are going to create your queries. And Crystal Reports has got that ability. It can talk to any database directly. So that's the reason why Crystal is appearing two places here. And moreover, Crystal Reports are used for formatting purpose. It's a pixel perfect formatting. At the same time, for the printing purpose, what are the reports we are looking in different technologies or even SAP. So when it comes to printing, it was always a big headache for the customers. Provide that in Crystal Reports, we got all the features. You can print the reports as you like. And Explorer is another tool. Whenever if you want to see some data with a huge amount of data, you name it, 10 billions, 100 billions, 20 billions, 150 billions, you can see that data. And in the past, no reporting tool provide this facility where you can knock out and you can look the different insights of a business. And apart from that, we have Analytics Appliance, which is moreover, which is very much similar to your Excel based interface. Now, let's talk about the equations. When you say enterprise data warehouse, you are using your BW, you are running your SAP, your data warehouse BW system. Basically, when you say BW system, that is nothing but data warehouse solution from SAP. That's what we call BW system. Our data warehouse systems and typical SAP systems are running on top of the databases, which is in-memory database. Sorry, we are talking about a classical enterprise. It's correction. All our SAP or data warehouse systems are running on traditional databases. Now, the change is that we are going to replace with the traditional database with HANA. If you see here, for BW, right now BW is running on top of HANA. The same applies for all ERP systems also. Now if you want to replace your traditional database with as a in-memory database, what we call HANA, and going forward, the vision of SAP is to have one common database. It's only one database, one common database. And on top, you can run multiple SAP, non-SAP systems. So that's the future version of HANA, what we are going to expect in the probably 2014. So that's what they call transformations. Now let's talk about the roadmap. So HANA started with 1.0. After that, we got support pack 1, support pack 2, service pack 3, 4, 5. When we got SP 1.3, this option is available, where for any, for business warehouse system, if you want to run on top of HANA, we can do that. 1.4, 1.5, we got this option for SAP business suite systems also. Again, when you say business suite systems, that may be your SAP ECC, CRM, SEM, SRM, all the systems. On top of HANA, you can run your BW system or any SAP business suite system. But for one common database, we are waiting for the next version, which is HANA 2.0. Once you get that, and with the use of one common database, you can run multiple SAP or non-SAP systems. So that's the future version of HANA. With that, when you talk about the enterprise data warehouse equations, enterprise data warehouse is equals to your traditional database plus X, whereas X is equals to BW, and traditional database is replaced as a HANA. Now it's no more, excuse me, it's no more traditional database. The traditional database is we are going to replace as a HANA. When you say enterprise data warehouse, you are HANA plus Y, where Y is equals to new BW. HANA is replaces your traditional database management system, but not your data warehouse environment. And always remember, HANA complements and renovates BW system always. Now, what are the options we have for ERP customers? When you say ERP, it's a OLTP system. So we are running on top of some traditional database or ERP systems. Now the change is that, now what if your customer says, I don't want to replace or migrate my traditional database. I want to keep my traditional database aside. Then keep your traditional database aside, keep HANA aside, and pull all the data from that traditional database to HANA. On top, with the use of business objects, do your reporting. Same when it comes to the another scenario. This is what we call side-by-side scenario, and this is what we call is on top. You are not going to use your traditional database. You are completely eliminating and you are migrating with HANA. On top, you are running your business objects. So this is the option for ERP customers. This is side-by-side scenario, and this is your on-top scenario. Now, options for BW customers. When you say side-by-side, keep your traditional database aside, BW aside, and keep your HANA aside. Pull all the data from your traditional database to directly HANA, and on top, with the use of business objects, you can do that reporting. So this is your side-by-side. And on top, you are going to replace your traditional database with HANA. Before that, you need to make sure that are you using the latest version of BW. So right now it's SAP NetWeaver BW 7.3 with the support pack 5 or higher. So that version's only supported by HANA. If not, first you need to, if you are using the older version, you need to upgrade your older version to the latest version, and then start migrating your traditional database to HANA. So these are the options, which means without re-implementation, without any disturbance in your current landscape, you are going to have HANA in place. So this is your side-by-side scenario, and this is your on-top scenario. Now, if you want to understand at a high level how a basic SAP HANA landscape looks like, so this is your HANA appliance. It's appliance, your HANA. And we are going to use one software, what we call is the client SAP Studio. in-memory studio or information modeler or even HANA Studio. We are referring to the same tool. Using this, you are going to perform all your modeling and provisioning activities. And apart from that, using this tool, you are going to do basic administration for your database also. And this is your source systems, this is your BODS, this is your reporting tools. So this is a high-level diagram for your HANA landscape. For the same, irrespective of what are the experience you have, SAP says HANA is broadly divided into two areas. One is application, another one is technology. The guys who are having some good understanding of database or data warehouse, directly they can fit under application. And the guys who are familiar with some kind of a database or data warehouse administration, moreover it's a DBA kind of a roles, those guys will be fit under technology. So right now we fit under application. So which SAP offers HA100, HA300, which is a 5 days workshop. The same content I'm going to cover. And when you say if you are related to BW, after this you need to go for this, which is a BW on HANA. So as you don't have BW experience, so this is not required for you. But essentially it's what we call a standalone HANA, HA100 and HA300, and area is application. That's it, guys, from my end. You have any questions? Let me show you something, how we are going to, what kind of things you are going to get for training. So like this, the next session I'm going to start with the basics, because few guys will be not familiar with the basics of what you mean by data warehouse, database, so those kind of things. So like this, for each individual session, you are going to have a class PPTs which I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to talk about the in-memory basics, and after that the use cases. We'll see what is that. And HANA architecture, it's a deep dive of understanding the HANA architecture. Then look and feel. Then we are going to start on the system. The system demonstration starts from here. Modeling, how we are going to create the attribute views, analytical views. Then how we are going to process it. And we are going to talk about one real-time scenario, which is controlling and profitability analysis. So like that, we are going to talk about the SQL part portion also. And finally, we'll be ending with reporting, HANA, reporting in HANA. It is using PO. And apart from that, for practicing purpose, you got all the exercises here with the solutions. Just you can have a practice, you can do that. And virtually, it's a remote desktop connection, what you are going to get. And apart from these class materials, I used to send a lot of materials through Dropbox. I used to share all these materials. And there is a 3 parts of notes which talks about the basics of HANA. We started with basics. And then it's purely the process and what are the things we are demonstrating in the class. We are going to get the same here. Started with the basic process and screenshots, step by step. So what is step 1, step 2, step 3, like that. So see there, we are at page number 21 now. If you go down, it's all the screenshots, and wherever the theory is relevant, it will be there. It's moreover the screenshot is, because why I included theory means it's related to that steps itself. So that's the reason you have a lot of stuff here. So see there. And by the end, we are going to talk about the user management. It's a little bit certification point of view, we can expect some questions, but in the reality, you are not going to work under that user management. So like this, you are going to get 3 parts of a notes along with all these class materials and in fact even assignments. So those are the takeaways for you, and whenever after the training also you can review. So through Dropbox I'm going to share with you.